Back again with another YouTube video. It's your boy Uriah G. Today we're going to react to 10 worst WWE Raw main events. Let's get right into the video. Alright, we're starting off with an advertisement. Dang, it's unskippable. Okay. Dang it, bro. I thought unskippable ads were 15 seconds. Now it's 18 seconds. This is wasting my time, man.
Episodes of WWE's flagship show Monday Night Raw in the can, it's hardly a surprise that the quality of Raw's main events have fluctuated from all-time classics to irredeemable duds and everything in between.
You can't say Raw matches have changed through the years, you know. People are saying Raw's bad. People say Smackdown's bad. But things change over time. I've always been a Raw fan over Smackdown. I liked Smackdown I've always liked Smackdown, but I feel like Raw is going to be more. And there was one point in time when Smackdown was, bigger than Raw, doing better numbers. But let's get right into this video, 10 worst WWE Raw main events.
Whether it was due to dodgy booking, ropey action, or the sheer concept itself, you will have a hard job finding worse than these. That said, please feel free to trawl through over 1,600 episodes if you're up for the challenge and want to end up in some sort of asylum. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 worst WWE Raw main events. Join us. But first, I would like to have best obvious. Get E-Shot protects its hope in office. You enjoy the time with a 20-minute promo of terror and Triple H versus Curtis Axel.
This match was literally, I was supposed to go to this. This was in Richmond. I think this was in Richmond, Virginia, right? This match. And I was supposed to go to this Raw. But this Raw match was so bad. Like, it was Curtis Axel when he was IC champ and Triple H, when he was a face still. And Vince, it was Curtis Axel versus Triple H singles match. The match barely even went on. Vince came out and stopped the match, ringing the bell, and screwed Triple H over like twice. Because Triple H was supposed to be hurt around this time. It was trying to show that Triple H wasn't capable of being in the ring. So yeah, I think this was like, around the time when he was having his rivalry, or before. I think this was before or after his rivalry with Brock Lesnar.
A time during his so-called reign of terror where Triple H would routinely bookend WWE Raw with a 20-minute promo and a main event match or segment, with some backstage segments sprinkled in throughout for good measure. The game wasn't quite so ubiquitous when he clashed with the soon-to-be Intercontinental Champion Curtis Axel in the show closer on May 20th, 2013, but that doesn't mean the match was any good. This was the first match for Axel under his new persona, the former Michael McGillicuddy.
I actually liked Curtis Axel's character. He was a good in-ring competitor. The fact that they made him a Paul Heyman guy, pushed him, gave him IC title, mid-card title. They didn't make him WWE champ because, they started to put him with Ryback, and that's when his character started, decreasing.
Freshly repackaged as a Paul Heyman guy and pushed as a potential headline star. If this was a test of his main event credentials, it's fair to say that the third-generation wrestler failed it, because the 7.5-minute contest was deathly dull by-the-numbers stuff that showed Axel was not ready for the spot that he had been put into. Of course, the thing everyone remembers about this match is the terrible finish, as Triple H sold like he was really struggling.
See? Told you. I don't know, man. I'm just glad I'm able to tell you guys before he tells you guys. But you guys knew what I was talking about.
Physically due to his cage match with Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules the previous night, and took a count-out loss while the trainers checked on him. WWE probably felt like they were creating a star here, but really they just exposed a prospect right out of the chute. Number 9, Ahmed Johnson versus Crush. WWE fans may have felt like the company was turning a creative corner in early 1997, but there was still a long way to go, as evidenced by the April 14th episode of Raw, which is one of the worst in history. A total and utter slog to sit through, the show was
I wasn't even watching Raw around this time, so yeah.
filled with bland, boring, or otherwise bad matches featuring such luminaries as the Godwins, the Sultan, Jesse James, and the Headbangers. The fart cherry on top of this poop sundae was an alleged main event pitting Ahmed Johnson against Crush, whose offense mainly consisted of rest holds, choking, and a sleeper. In fact, that's pretty apt, because this dreary bout is liable to send anyone watching it to the land of Nod. Not even Jim Ross, doing his best to make the non-action sound interesting on commentary, could salvage things. I appreciate they were both probably tired from touring since this was taped during a trip to South Africa and you can hear at least one fan yelling racist things at Ahmed throughout, but
Ain't no way. Are you serious? That's crazy.
neither man was ever a leader in the ring, and putting them together for almost 9 whole minutes is borderline criminal. Number 8, the Bushwhackers versus Barry Hardy and Burt.
The Bushwhackers. Y'all remember the Bushwhackers? I wasn't even alive when the Bushwhackers was around. But they were just a regular tag team, you know. I guess they were just put into the company. They weren't really much. I just know them through WWF.
Burt Centino. In the very early days of Raw, just about anyone could main event the show due to the thin talent roster and the way WWE taped TV during marathon sessions. I mean, Damien friggin' Demento headlined the show's debut against The Undertaker, you know? Times were tough. And yet, times were that much tougher when Raw came back on the air after a few weeks off due to the US Open tennis tournament on September 12, 1994. So, how did Vince McMahon's sports entertainment juggernaut welcome fans back? Why, with a Bushwhackers main event. And not just any Bushwhackers main event, a Bushwhackers main event against the esteemed jobber tandem of Barry Hardy and Burt Centino. Right, it's a Bushwhackers
I don't even know nothing about this match.
squash match, so you know what you're gonna get. Foot stomping, arm swinging, and face licking mostly. But this was an inexcusably naff way to end any TV show, let alone Monday Night Raw. The totally past it Luke and Butch ran out of material about halfway through the 4-minute comedy match before mercifully ending the pain with a
It was only a 4-minute match.
battering ram. People sometimes praise the new generation era for the influx of young and exciting talent that freshened up WWE's roster, but Raw main events like this are a reminder that things were far from perfect. Number 7, Harvey Whippleman versus Howard Finkel. WWE Raw
Howard Finkel, isn't that the dude, the ring announcer dude, or something like that? He was in the match, guys.
is, in theory, a show for WWE fans, right? Well, perhaps, but very often, matches and segments on the show were clearly only done for an audience of one. Vince McMahon certainly had his tastes, and one of the things he seemed to find entertaining was the ritual humiliation of beloved ring announcer Howard Finkel. Because why else would a show opened by a riveting IC title scrap between Razor Ramon and Owen Hart be
I did not know they had a match against each other. Two greats right there. Two underrated. Owen Hart versus Razor. Who won that match?
closed by the Fink taking on manager Harvey Whippleman in a tuxedo match? It's a clothes-ripping affair between two non-wrestlers, so you know what you're gonna get, but that doesn't make it any less embarrassing. Oh, and it doesn't make the 2-minute and 40-second runtime go any faster either. Howard won, as if anyone cares, before dancing around with the Bushwhackers to see us out. And yep, that's how your main event finished, a topless Howard Finkel doing the Bushwhacker dance. By the way, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE rushed through the rest of the live show in order to make sure there was enough time for all of this. Utter mentalists. Number 6, Jim Ross versus Triple H. Next to Howard Finkel,
This is not fair. Jim Ross versus Triple H. Also, he's undergoing surgery. Hope he gets better.
there was nobody Vince McMahon and upper WWE management liked to see get embarrassed quite like good old JR. There was a belief that Jim Ross, who was once head of talent relations in addition to his role as an announcer, took himself too seriously and ought to be taken down a peg or two. Well, good old JR certainly was put in his place on the April 18th, 2005 episode of Raw, wasn't he? Ross was in the night's main event taking on Triple H. Not only was this a Raw main event, it was a Raw main event taking place in Madison Square Garden. So, why was it booked? Well, I would tell you the storyline justification, but really this was just an excuse to see JR get his Oklahoma ass kicked because the chairman wanted him to. Going an obscenely long 11.5 minutes.
7-minute match? Oh.
The match, as much as it can be called a match anyway, consisted of the Cerebral Assassin punching his non-wrestler opponent, including one potato shot that caused Ross some real vision issues afterwards, before Batista finally ran in for the save and gave JR the win. Unacceptably long, unnecessarily cruel.
Wait a second. I have not seen this match. Jim Ross won this match
And really quite
due to Batista's help.
unforgivable when you actually stop and think about it. Number 5, Triple H versus Jeff Hardy. In April of 2001, Jeff Hardy and Triple H headlined back-to-back episodes of Smackdown and Raw, trading the Intercontinental title. They were two dynamic TV main events between a pair of talented performers near the peak of their powers. That said, a little under 18 months later, things would look very, very different. On the September 16th, 2002 episode of Raw, the charismatic Enigma challenged the game for the World Heavyweight title, which, lest we forget, had been simply given to...
Okay, so this was the episode where Eric Bischoff simply just gifted him the World Heavyweight Championship, and he had a match with Jeff Hardy. Okay.
Hunter by Eric Bischoff. By this point, Triple H had tacked on about 40 pounds of extra muscle, limiting his mobility, while Jeff was, how should we say this, burned out and deteriorating before our very eyes every week. Hardy spent most of the match on offense, very little of which looked any good. His rail runner clothesline, Arabian press moonsault, and standard moonsault all barely connected, while Triple H almost landed on the top of his head from a second rope Frankensteiner. Helmsley was bleeding from a pre-match attack by Rob Van Dam, which in theory should have upped the drama, but the result was a formality, and it was no shock to see the Cerebral Assassin put the challenger away with a sleeper, a move that he tried and failed to get over as a credible finisher at the time. Number 4, Booker T versus Buff Bagwell. When WWE bought WCW in March of 2001, the plan initially was to relaunch the brand months later, with Monday Night Raw becoming a WCW show.
They should bring back ECW.
And then, this match happened. The main event of the July 2nd, 2001 edition of Raw was a WCW presentation as Booker T defended his World Heavyweight Championship against Buff Bagwell.
5-time champ, 5-time.
There were WCW graphics, a WCW referee, Stacy Keibler handling the ring announcing, and Scott Hudson and Arn Anderson on commentary for a match so bad it forced WWE to change course.
Okay, so this was the invasion angle. This is around the time with the invasion thing.
Staged the ill-fated invasion rather than a full-on revival. The match was, of course, a boring washout, but WWE didn't help themselves in the...
Invasion kind of reminds me of bragging rights, or like Team Raw versus Team Smackdown Survivor Series.
build-up. Bagwell, a career mid-carder, was a full-on heel, but Booker had been attacking WWE wrestlers for weeks, making him a heel by default to the crowd in Tacoma, Washington, and what's maddening is that WWE visited WCW hotspot Atlanta, Georgia the very next week. With nobody to cheer and pedestrian action below the standard and intensity they were expecting from a Raw main event, fans just turned on the bout and only seemed happy when the WWE crew ran in for the DQ. Number 3, John Cena and Randy Orton versus the entire Raw roster. Sometimes it's the idea of the...
Man, what's so bad about this match? Cena and Randy won this match, I believe. Or did it end in a DQ? Like, I've seen this match, but I don't know if I watched the full thing. But I know for a fact that they went through a lot of them.
The match itself, rather than the action within it, that just makes you want to put your hand into the Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer. On the March 17th, 2008 edition of Raw, John Cena and Randy Orton teamed up to take on the entire Raw roster. Well, that's how they presented it anyway. It was more a collection of mid-card geeks.
Oh, they should have this in the new wrestling games. Like, you're able to face the whole roster. Not like a Royal Rumble, but like a... You know how they have a handicap specialty?
I'm getting the door. It's Tess. Hello.
Hello. Where's that? Hi,
JBL and Umaga. In any event, it was a 17-on-2 handicap elimination match, so you would think it would be an easy night's work for the side with 17, right? Oh, you sweet gullible bastards, you. Cena actually managed to eliminate Santino Marella, Caden Murdoch, Robbie McAllister.
See, he was going through a lot of people.
And D.H. Smith, while Orton put away Super Crazy, Paul Burchill, Val Venus, and Cody Rhodes before the big disqualification finish. Something tells me...
Okay, so it was a DQ finish. I figured that.
Robbing out half your mid-card to your two top stars in one 8-minute match might have been a short-sighted idea, guys. And then, to top it all off, Triple H came...
And then Triple H just had to come in, because this was the time where they had the triple threat match at WrestleMania. And Randy retained his title at WrestleMania for this triple threat.
And hit Orton and Cena with pedigrees, ensuring that all the focus was on him as the show went off the air. To be fair, Hunter was probably just mad he wasn't invited to the mid-carder burial. Number 2, Diamond Dallas Page versus Sarah. Well, speaking of burials, Diamond Dallas Page could, like many of the main event WCW stars, have opted to collect on his guaranteed Time Warner contract rather than accept a buyout and join WWE. But he didn't, and from the off, DDP was treated like a joke. It all started with the misguided stalker story.
I done heard this storyline a million times.
Storyline and one-sided feud with The Undertaker, which eventually led to a match between Paige and Taker's then-wife Sarah Calloway. WWE metaphorically shoveled the last bit of dirt on the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion on the August 20th, 2001 Raw, as he did the job for Mrs. Taker in a 6-second match. After shoving
6-second match.
Sarah down, Dallas was taken outside the ring, chokeslammed, thrown back in, and pinned by Sarah, who decided to make the cover in a sort of press-up position. You do you. It might not seem that bad.
Kinda looked like the Undertaker's pin position.
Since it's not like DDP got his yoga-formed backside beaten in a competitive match, but this was all the visual proof fans needed that he was to be looked at as a jobber. Page disappeared for a month afterwards, reappearing with a comedy self-help gimmick. The bloke needed all the help he could get. Number 1, John Cena versus Michael Cole. If you were watching WWE between, say, the summer of 2005 and the summer of 2016, then there was a very good chance you would see John Cena in Raw's main events. Some of them were really bloody good, some not so much, but this was an abomination. On the June 4th, 2012 episode, Cena took on and beat the previously undefeated Tensai before...
See, Tensai beat him first, though, because, I think, who interfered and helped Tensai win? I think it was that time when it was, like, John Laurinaitis or something.
Tangling with antagonistic announcer Michael Cole in a no...
Because, you know, he was using that green mist.
Q match. It wasn't a proper match by any stretch of the imagination, of course, more of an excuse for supposed good guy Cena to mercilessly humiliate Cole. Big Bully John chopped and stripped Cole of his clothes, kicked him in the bollocks, hit him with the microphone, covered him in barbecue...
Yeah, the good old JR Jim Ross barbecue sauce.
...sauce and sprayed him with a fire extinguisher. Tensai returned for a false finish, but Cena predictably came back to him.
Alright, that was 10 worst WWE Raw main events. Tell me what you guys want to see next in the comments down below. I got more videos coming. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, comment, and yeah. Uriah out.